everyone, I teach animal adaptations and I'm really excited to find this article to assign to my students where they will have to annotate and answer questions related to this passage. So this was from a website, National Geographic, and in order to have this be interactive, I'm going to use Kami to let my students annotate and answer those questions. So the first thing I'm going to do is save it as a PDF. So in order to do that, I'm going to do a print command, and then typically this lets me pick my printer, but I'm going to select Save as PDF and save it directly to my desktop. I'm going to replace this. I already saved it once, so I'll click on Replace. And now it's as a PDF on my computer. So I'm going to head over to Kami. I have the extension here, but if you don't have that extension, you can type Kami for Chrome and follow the on-screen prompts to sign in with your work account and sign in with Google to open Kami and have your school district Kami account. From here, I'm going to select the document that I just saved. You could add it to your Google Drive and organize it that way. I just have it on my computer right now, so I'm going to click on that and open the document. Now that it's here, you'll notice that I have all of the same options. I can add a comment to add directions to my students, so I can do an entire video or voice comment that restates my expectations for this assignment and the instructions for what I want the students to do. That's a really powerful tool. That way you're not repeating yourself over and over again, and especially if you have absent students, they can listen to your directions and you really only have to say them one time. So this is a huge time saver. Click on comment and then you can choose to do a video comment, a voice comment, or even just a text comment. That will pop up for every single student when they open their document. You can customize instructions with the text box. You can also pre-highlight items that you want to call attention to for your students. And so you have all of these customization tools that you can use ahead of time before launching this to your students to have their own copy that they can annotate. But now you'll notice as a teacher, you also have this question tool. So I'm going to click on questions and I can create my own questions from scratch. Maybe I pull up the unwrapped document and add the essential questions because I want my students to read this document and then apply it to our current objective and use their new knowledge from this article to answer the essential questions. I can also generate questions and I can do a combination of those two things. So let me show you what generate looks like. When I click on it here, I can choose the grade level, so the rigor of the questions. This will be a 4th grade assignment, and I can also select which pages I want this to apply to. So most of the content is just on the first 4 pages, and then there are pictures. So I'm going to change this to just be pages 1 to 4. And then I can decide how many questions I want, if I want it to be multiple choice. Here's where I can add my custom questions, and I'm going to go ahead and click Generate Questions. It does take a while to generate, maybe about a minute or so. One thing that I noticed is at the bottom of the screen, this will give you some other Kami tech tips. So while you're waiting, you can read these tips and get ideas for future lessons or future ideas, and really just increase your knowledge about using this tech tool. You can also generate something multiple times. So if you don't like these questions, I can close out of these and run it again, and it will create new questions for me. But here are my 5 questions. They align directly from the content that was in this article. And I have some options. My first option is, if I want, I can click and drag the questions so that they are directly over my PDF. This is helpful if you have a PDF that already has questions in it, like a handwritten PDF, and you want to convert it to be digital so that you can cover up the questions that exist with this digital format, and then students can answer the questions directly on the document and it will auto grade for them. So you can literally just click and drag the questions onto the page. Another option, this would be helpful for differentiation, is when you are clicking a question onto a page, you have the option to include what's going to be called a marker. So how I did that was, once I click and dragged my question onto here, I double clicked it to get this little editor toolbar, And instead of full, I can choose marker. Now this marker I can move so that way students know, oh, when I get to this part of the text, I'm going to answer question 2. And you can change the color for accessibility, or even just to help your students call their attention to it. So, okay, everyone, make sure to look for the purple questions. You have to answer the purple questions. Those are based on the text or whatever other prompting or cueing you might want to give to your students. So those are the options. You can drag the question directly on the document. You can drag a marker to help call their attention to the question, or you can do nothing and just leave it as a sidebar. And then the students will have these questions on the side of their screen. Within here, you can also change the point value. So maybe this question is going to be worth 5 points. You can decide if you want it to randomize the order of the questions. You can also differentiate by doing add a hint, and this will help students if they're stuck or if they want a hint. So all of these things can be turned on or off. You can also delete a question, and you can add it to your annotation bank, which means maybe this is a question that you reuse on another assignment. So you're not having to recreate the same questions over and over again. But then we mentioned you can add your own custom questions here. I can generate more questions if I want. And then if this had questions already in it, so like if this was a printed PDF that I've had for years and I had questions that were already on here, I could do AI convert and it would look at those questions and create them off to the side here, and I could use those as my questions. So you have a lot of options within Kami, within this tool, to create assignments for your students. So here is my item. Up at the top of the screen, it's automatically saving. It's saving on my Google Drive. It's saving on Kami, so I don't have to do anything, but that is something I like to double check to make sure I'm on the internet and that it's saving my work. But now I have all of this kind of created, and I want to assign it to my students. In order to do this, I will head over to my Schoology page, and I have a student account and a teacher account. So when I am scrolling down and using my sample course here, I'm going to click on Add Materials and then choose Kami from the dropdown. If this is your first time, you might have to log in and authenticate and follow the on-screen prompts, but I've logged in before. So here I have, I can attach it from my Google Drive, and it was automatically saving there. I think the assignment was called These Animals Can Freeze. I'm a big typer. I love to use the search bar, but Kami also does create a Kami folder for you. So if you're having difficulty, you can always go straight to the Kami upload folder. I just like to type and look for the titles. But it has attached my document here, and I'm going to select assessment mode. That way, once my students turn it in, they can't edit it once they've turned it in. So they answer the questions and they turn it in, and then it's submitted, and they won't be able to rechange their answers until after I've graded it. You can add a due date here. This is really helpful. And then you can also choose feature control. As a classroom teacher, my kiddos, sometimes they got too crazy with the tools. So I like to click all off, and then I pick which ones I want them to do. So I want them to be able to select things on the page as needed. And then I want them to use a text highlighter and a box highlighter, but I'm going to skip freehand highlighter. They get a little bit too crazy trying to freehand highlight things. And then maybe I also want them to be able to use a text box to add their answer choices as text box and maybe take some text notes. The other thing I want is them to be able to have this read aloud as needed. But I don't like it when they play with the voice pitch and the voice speed. They get a little too goofy with that. So I'm just going to let them select the voice, and that's it. So now they have a simplified toolbar. At any time, I can also turn on or off any of these support features, but I like to keep them on as an accessibility tool for my students. So I'll hit OK and attach, and now this is an assignment that is on my Schoology page for my students to do. So let's head over to the student view to see what that will look like for my students. So I'm going to click on my student account and go into my sample course. And the assignment will be all the way at the bottom of the page. When it opens on the Chromebooks, it can be really small in this view, and so I like to recommend that students click on this button to really expand their view. Otherwise, they're going to have their questions kind of squished here and the article here. So I always recommend clicking this. That will open it bigger and have it be more manageable for your students. On the left-hand side, since this is my student view, you can see that I have a more simplified version of the toolbar. I don't have all of those same options. And then I can come in here and I can answer my questions as a student. So here are the questions. It even says question 1 is on the page. So remember, we put that one directly on the page. This is what it looks like if you choose that option to click and drag the questions on the page. So here's question 1. I'm literally just guessing. I haven't read this article, so I'm just going with it. Here is my reminder as a student. Oh, question 2, that connects to this area. So I can remember to go over here and answer my questions. And then the other questions are just regular in the toolbar. So that's kind of what I mentioned in terms of the way that you can set it up visually. That's a choice that you can make for your students. All of these are multiple choice, but you can also do short answer, and depending on if students include certain words in the short answer, it will also auto grade the short answer. But these are just multiple choice. So I'm going to hit submit. As a reminder, you could have you could still grade things like annotations. So maybe I, as a teacher, love to have my students, they always had to highlight in pink where they found their answer in the text to kind of prove their answer. So I would require 5 different highlights for this assignment so that students could prove, oh, this is where in the text I found my answer. And that's what red indicated in my classroom. But obviously you could pick any color coding, but that was one expectation I had with these types of assignments. So then I'm done. I'm going to click on submit. It will give me a warning. Are you sure I want to submit? Yes, I'm done. I'm ready. And then I will get a confirmation once it has finished loading. So this is how students will go ahead and submit their work. And woohoo, I did it. The teacher view then to grade is very simple. You go on your teacher Schoology page and you open the assignment. I'm in my student view still, so as you can see, I can't edit it, I can't change it. So I'll go to my teacher view to then do the grading. And I can open a class view that will let me look at the progress that my students have started, and I can look at their annotations. It's kind of like a live view of their work as they're working through the document. If I need to edit the assignment, like edit any of those questions or add directions or add highlighting, I can still edit it here, but then I'm going to want to actually grade it. So I'm going to click on Open Grader. And now there's only one submission. If I had multiple submissions, it would look like other types of assignments where you can click on all the different names. But here was my first submission. You can see that it auto-graded the questions. I can come down here and see. Remember, I made this one worth more points, so that's why it says 5 out of 9, because you can change the value of questions. But I can see here at the top of the screen is the overall score. In my assignment setup options, it was out of 100, but that's something that I can edit and change. But now I can go ahead and look at other things like their annotations. I can grade how they annotated the document if I needed to do extra points there. And then I can put in whatever the score would be and click on post. So that is how you grade the assignments. You could return the work to students. So if they want to see what they did and how they got, or give them another chance to resubmit, you can click on return. And then another feature also is that you can return all if you want, so you don't have to click on each individual one when you're done grading. So that's up to you. You can choose to return individual assignments or return them all in one simple click. This is a little bit about Kami in Schoology using the new question tool. But I recommend doing this for many assignments. Anytime you have a PDF, it's always helpful to have students interacting with that PDF and taking notes. So this is one way to make it so that students aren't just staring at their screen, they're actually having to do some sort of task aligned to their reading. If you have any questions, always reach out. We'd be happy to help you, and good luck with using Kami.